In my past life, my kindness led to Su Huan humiliating me, locking me away in a brothel where I lay dying. Reborn. I boldly took her name and returned to the general's mansion, where I was granted the title of county princess and betrothed to the crown prince. On the day of my investiture, she stood in rags, screaming that I was the fake heiress and she the true one. I watched her coldly and smiled. Blood ties? Did she really think that was how I rose to power? A carriage arrived in the slums of Rizhou City. A couple dressed in luxurious attire stepped out. I was sitting under a tree, enjoying the shade. The noble woman, her tears barely dried, leaned down to ask me, "Is there a girl named Su Huan here? About 14 years old?" I looked at her with confusion, casually raising my hand to scratch my head, revealing the plum blossom-shaped birthmark on my right arm. The noblewoman saw the mark on my arm and drew closer, as if she had found hope. "Huaner, do you remember your father and mother? You were lost when you were young. It's all because your father and mother didn't take good care of you." My eyes held innocence as I recited the words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times in my mind. I only remember going to the Lantern Festival when I was little. There were so many people. I couldn't find my parents. My voice trembled with suppressed tears, tugging at their hearts as they pulled me into their embrace. "Huaner, my Huaner, you've suffered all these years." I pushed the woman away and hid behind a tree, watching the couple warily. "How dare you claim I'm your daughter? Others have tricked me before, pretending to be my parents, only to sell me. If you truly are my parents, where are the tokens? Do you have anything familiar from my childhood?" Hearing this, the couple's faces betrayed even deeper anguish. The woman pulled a longevity lock from her sleeve and held it out before me. I stared at the locket in astonishment, took it, and examined it closely. Tears welled up in my eyes. I remembered, this locket was given to me by my grandmother. I had lost it. Tears streaming down my face. I looked at them. "Are you truly my parents?" They embraced me. I knew then, they believed me. "My name is Amon. I am an orphan. Orphans have no name or surname." The name Amon was given to me by the old woman who found me, hoping my life would be complete. Alas, heaven does not always grant our wishes. I met Su Huan, the one who ruined my life. I bore a 5-part resemblance to Su Huan, yet I was more beautiful than her. Living in the same slum, people naturally compared us. From that moment on, Su Huan harbored resentment toward me. Later, Su Huan's parents came to take her home. They initially mistook me for her, but after I corrected them, they found the real Su Huan. Su Huan feigned affection, promising to take me to the Su household and make me her personal maid, offering me a life of luxury. I thought she was grateful that I had led her parents to find her, but little did I know this was the beginning of my tragic life. At first, it was minor punishments for trivial matters. Then came the false accusations, beatings, and forced kneeling through the night, all minor compared to what followed. She had me flogged 80 times in the freezing cold, then locked me in the woodshed without medical care. When I finally recovered, she sent men to ruin my reputation. She caught me in the act and sold me to a brothel. The madam claimed all the humiliation and abuse I endured were orchestrated by Su Huan with her money, telling me to die without resentment toward her, for she dared not disobey the future crown princess's orders. Fortune smiled upon me, however, and I was reborn. Since heaven granted me this chance, I shall repay every single one who wronged and humiliated me with interest. Upon awakening, I spent every last coin I had to get a tattoo of the exact same birthmark Su Huan bore, since I shared even a fraction of her likeness. Why not simply take her place? Become the legitimate daughter of the general's household, the crown prince's rightful consort. I returned to the general's residence, this time as its legitimate heiress. Back in the mansion, I was placed alongside the other daughters for formal instruction. Music, chess, calligraphy, painting, flower arrangement, tea ceremony, etiquette, needlework. These things I could only watch from afar in my previous life now lay within my grasp, ready for me to master. Madame Su bore one son and one daughter, the eldest son, Su Xiu, who oversaw the capital's defenses, and Su Huan, who had been exiled. With her son consumed by official duties and her daughter's whereabouts unknown, she alone in the mansion had honed her skills in household management. Thus, the concubines and children within the estate all lived in harmony. But Su Huan was arrogant and domineering. After returning home, she abused her status as the legitimate daughter to lord it over everyone, exhausting all sympathy for her childhood suffering and leaving only weariness in its wake. Yet I actively sought guidance, unable to write. I asked my eldest sister to teach me stroke by stroke, unable to play the zither. I asked my second sister to instruct me note by note, when my tea brewing lacked refinement. I turned to my fourth sister, when my embroidered mandarin ducks resembled ordinary ducks. I consulted my fifth sister. Gradually, the pity others once felt for me transformed into admiration. I fully integrated into the Su household, earning the satisfaction of my adoptive parents. Even the stern, unyielding eldest brother showed me gentle affection, often seeking out fine paper, ink, brushes, inkstones, embroidery threads, and tea sets for me. Later, Lady Su began taking me to banquets and gatherings hosted by various noble families in the court. Everyone knew I had once been adrift in the world, expecting me to be coarse and vulgar. Yet, by Lady Su's side, I never made a misstep, conducting myself with dignity and propriety, gradually earning their admiration. When the Dowager of Hengyang Marquis celebrated her 60th birthday, the Su family was among the invited guests. That day, I dressed with particular care, knowing the Crown Prince Gu Mingfan was also among the attendees. In my past life, Su Huan had met the Crown Prince at this very banquet and fallen deeply for him at first sight. Upon returning home, she begged Su's father to propose marriage, only to be scolded for absurdity. Then she resorted to crying, causing a scene, and threatening suicide, finally securing the chance to become Crown Prince Gu Mingfan's consort. By that time, I had already been locked in the basement of a brothel, barely clinging to life. I gathered my composure, fastened the carefully blended perfume pouch, and headed to the Hengyang Marquis' residence. After paying respects to the matriarch, I excused myself to use the restroom and slipped into the mansion's rear garden. In my previous life, Su Huan had lost her way in this very garden and encountered Gu Mingfan. By the carp pond, Gu Mingfan was indeed pausing to watch the fish. I gently stirred some flowers, drawing his attention. "Have you lost your way too, young master?" I approached him, asking as if he were just another young nobleman attending the banquet. Showing no trace of fear, Gu Mingfan was taken aback by my question. After a moment's pause, he realized I hadn't recognized him as the Crown Prince. He, too, had stared at me for a long while without recognizing who I was. "And you are?" "I am the third young miss of General Su's household. I lost my maid earlier and now find myself lost. Would the young master happen to know the way back to the front hall? I've been gone too long, and my mother will worry." Gu Mingfan hesitated, then lowered his head and caught the scent on my skin. "Do you smell something?" I untied the sachet and held it in my palm for him to see. "This is a sachet I blended myself. Do you like the scent?" Gu Mingfan seemed dazed for a moment, then took a step toward me with sudden excitement. Might the third young miss bestow the sachet upon me? I immediately stepped back, tucked the sachet away, and feigned alarm to refuse. A sachet is a woman's intimate possession. How could I give it away lightly? "If you have business, I'll find my way back myself." As I turned to leave, Gu Mingfan grabbed my arm. I flung his hand away and stepped back further. Realizing his indiscretion, Gu Mingfan immediately apologized. "Third miss. Please forgive my rashness. It's just that your sachet's scent resembles the one my late mother always wore." Having lost her, I was momentarily lost in thought upon catching this familiar fragrance today. I tucked the sachet away, gazing at him with an understanding expression. "In that case, lead me to the front hall. I shall copy the incense recipe for you." Gu Mingfan beamed as if he'd found a treasure. The crown prince himself bowed to me in gratitude, then cheerfully led the way. Following behind, I couldn't help but let a barely perceptible smile touch my lips. This incense formula was obtained in my previous life by Su Huan, who sought to win the crown prince's favor. She went to great lengths to find the late empress's personal lady-in-waiting, bribing her with 100 taels of gold for the recipe. Now I'd use it to pass the favor on to Gu Mingfan. Even if Su Huan returned, she'd never dream of becoming crown princess. Gu Mingfan led me to the front hall, where everyone immediately knelt to pay their respects upon seeing him. I, however, froze in shock. Only when Gu Mingfan turned to look at me did my legs give way, and I knelt to offer my own greeting. "Greetings, Your Highness. This humble maiden has been rude and presumptuous. I beg your forgiveness. Ignorance is no excuse. Third young miss, please rise." Gu Mingfan bent to help me up. I reached out to take his hand, but then snapped back to my senses. I quickly pulled away, scrambled to my feet, and hid behind Su's mother. Gu Mingfan seemed taken aback by this refusal for the first time. His face flushed with embarrassment as he stood there, his expression toward me hesitant and pleading, like someone begging for a perfume recipe. But I hid behind Su's mother, unable to meet his gaze. So he had no choice but to give up. On the way home, I asked Su's mother with a kind expression, "Mother, have I caused trouble for our family?" I didn't recognize His Highness the Crown Prince and even had him lead the way for me. Su's mother comforted me. "His Highness the Crown Prince is a very magnanimous person, he won't hold such things against you." And Mother noticed, "His Highness seems rather taken with you." "Mother, don't joke like that." I feigned annoyance, though my heart swelled with delight. If I were to claim the position of Crown Princess, I certainly wouldn't announce it to the world with fanfare like Su Huan did. The capital is riddled with rules, one misstep could make you a laughingstock. The Su family values its reputation, and the imperial family values it even more. A marriage forced by coercion could never compare to the golden union I would forge through skillful cultivation of affection and public sentiment. To win the people's hearts, I devised a pretext, praying for my parents' blessings and grace. Thus, on the 5th day of every month, I distributed porridge and silver to the poor in the eastern part of the city. The 5th day of the 8th month, in my past life's memory, was the day the Crown Prince returned from inspecting military affairs and was ambushed by remnants of the previous dynasty. The Heavenly Way Society, the makeshift shelter where the soup kitchen was set up, served as their hiding place. Having mingled among the displaced for years, I could easily distinguish genuine refugees from those disguised among them. Thus, from the very start of the distribution, I alerted the guards to individuals I deemed suspicious. When the Crown Prince entered through the east gate and spotted my porridge stall, he dismounted and approached. "Miss Susan, it's been a while." I handed the ladle to a maid and stepped forward to respond, my peripheral vision catching the telltale stirrings among the crowd. From my sleeve, I drew the spice list I'd copied earlier. "I never had the chance to present this list to Your Highness. I never imagined we'd meet here today." "It's nothing." Just as Gu Mingfan reached to take the list, a group in the crowd drew swords and lunged at him. My guards, alerted by my earlier warning, reacted swiftly and parried the rebels' blades. In an instant, rebels, guards, and the Crown Prince's personal guards were thrown into chaos, while displaced people scattered in all directions. I hurriedly pulled Gu Mingfan to safety. But then, a rebel lurking in the distance launched a sneak attack. I saw his blade about to strike Gu Mingfan. I threw myself forward, the blade cutting straight into my back. The pain excruciating. Gu Mingfan instinctively pulled me close and stepped back. The rebel's second strike missed, and before he could raise his blade for a third, he was struck down by a sword. Your servant arrived too late to protect your highness. Please forgive my failure. It was Su Shuyu's voice, but the pain left me gasping for breath in Gu Mingfan's embrace. No need for formalities. Your sister sustained grave injuries saving me. Commander Su, please escort the third miss back to the mansion at once. I shall dispatch imperial physicians immediately. I scarcely recall how I returned to the general's residence, but I knew every arrangement I'd made had been proclaimed far and wide. Our first meeting at the Hengyang prince's mansion, the crown prince's special favor, and later, the peril at the city gate where a beauty came to my rescue, all had become celebrated tales throughout the capital. And I knew these tales were not confined to the capital alone. The imperial decree conferring upon me the title of Princess of Ning'an for saving the crown prince arrived on the Mid-Autumn Festival. Neighbors and passers-by witnessed the imperial heralds enter the general's residence in grand procession, only to be escorted back with reverence by the entire household. Just as everyone was preparing to return home for celebrations, a disheveled woman rushed to the general's residence, shouting that she was the true legitimate daughter of the Su family. I am Su Huan. Father. Mother. Look. I am Su Huan. This woman is an imposter. She's an imposter. Look at my birthmark. At the mention of the birthmark, Lady Su rushed down first to investigate. Seeing the birthmark identical to the one on my arm, she froze. Then, upon closer inspection of my face, which bore a striking resemblance to Su Huan's, she grew even more flustered. The crowd also looked at me with confusion, yet I remained calm and composed, walking over to whisper to Su's father. Father, whoever this woman is, causing such a scene at our doorstep tarnishes the general's household. We should bring her inside for a private inquiry. Father Su glanced at the crowd of onlookers gathered around and realized the commotion was unseemly. He nodded in agreement. Wife, bring her inside. Su Huan was cleaned up and brought to the main hall, where the family members took their respective seats. Su Huan, seeing my air of innate nobility, as if born into a wealthy family, was consumed by jealousy. She lunged at me, ready to tear into me. You worthless slut. Stealing my identity. Stealing my parents. I am the real Su Huan. But I wasn't about to sit idly by. Before she could reach me, I rose and hid behind Su Shuyu. Su Huan slammed headfirst into my chair with a thud, drawing snickers from the concubines and illegitimate daughters. Silence. Father Su was furious at the scene. Accustomed to my docile, sensible, and dignified demeanor, even knowing this disheveled woman was his daughter left him nearly breathless with rage. Su Huan scrambled up from the chair and immediately knelt on the spot, wailing, Father, I am your true daughter. Look at the birthmark on my arm. She's a lowly born slut. Her name is Amon, not Su Huan. Su Huan then held her hand towards Su's mother. Mother, look! Don't you recognize your own daughter? See how much we resemble each other. In terms of appearance, Su Huan naturally bore a stronger resemblance to her parents. Yet after living together for so long, Su's parents inevitably felt a deeper bond with me, their daughter. After exchanging glances, Su's mother proposed a solution. Why not perform a blood test to prove kinship? At these words, Su Huan's eyes lit up, and she shot me a triumphant glare. But I was hiding behind Su Shuyu, and her provocation fell squarely into his eyes as well. Though I couldn't read Su Shuyu's thoughts, I knew him to be a man of calculation. As the future head of the Su family, he would naturally protect the family's honor. Father, please reconsider. Huaner has just been established as a county princess. Indeed. I just received imperial favor. The wounds on my back from saving the crown prince hadn't even fully healed. If it were discovered now that I wasn't a Su family daughter, wouldn't that be pushing that favor onto another family? The two in the main seats were momentarily at a loss. This young lady resembles Huaner in appearance and shares the same birthmark. It's fate. Why not? Father and mother. Take her as your adopted daughter? Bring her into the ancestral hall. She would be our family's daughter. Su Huan made the decision. With no better solution. Su's parents could only agree. But Su Huan was utterly unwilling. Why? I'm the real Su Huan. I'm father and mother's biological daughter. She's the fake one. Why would the biological daughter be the adopted daughter? This isn't fair. Though no one spoke. I knew their thoughts. They simply couldn't bear to relinquish the imperial favor bestowed upon me to another family. So they remained silent. In the main hall, I knelt before Father and Mother Su. I didn't break down or cry out, only silently shed tears. Father and Mother, do you no longer want Huaner? If Father and Mother both believe Huaner isn't your daughter, then let Huaner go. Blame only the fact that I resemble the real Huaner and share the same birthmark. That year in Ruzhou City, I thought my life would be one of utter loneliness, deprived of memories, bereft of family. Who knew if I'd starve to death on the streets or be tricked into a brothel? But then Mother approached me. From the first moment I saw her, I felt a deep connection. I thought my real parents had come for me. I tried to hold back my emotions, but sobs escaped me. Mother Su rose immediately, embraced me, and wept uncontrollably. My dear daughter, how could I ever abandon you? You are my daughter. You must never leave. I clung to her, glancing up to see Father Su quietly wiping his own tears. I couldn't make them fully believe I was their biological daughter, but I could make them favor me above all others. After leaving the main hall, I encountered Su Huan standing in the corridor. He stood tall and graceful, every bit as handsome as Gu Mingfan. Was my brother waiting for me? Su Huan turned to look at me, saying nothing. Deep down, my brother probably didn't believe I was his real sister either. After all, one's appearance cannot be faked. I met his gaze calmly, without a trace of panic. I didn't know what Su Huan was thinking as he looked at me, but before leaving, he left only one sentence. You are the Su family's legitimate daughter. No one can shake your position. I understood his meaning perfectly well. He refused to acknowledge me as his sister, yet accepted my status as legitimate daughter, demanding I fulfill the duties and responsibilities of that role. He could guarantee the stability of my position, but could never grant me the affection of a sibling. Fine. I care little for such emotions. Reborn into this life, I seek only vengeance to achieve my purpose. The Su family has two Su Huans. The Su family gained an adopted daughter named Su Yi. The adopted daughter is the true Su Huan. These three events spread like wildfire throughout the capital. Even when the Su family father and son attended court or patrolled the city, people regarded them with new eyes. Seated in the deep courtyard, arranging flowers, my mood was cheerful. Back when Su Huan abused me, not a single family had intervened. Now they endure a little public backlash? It's but a drop in the bucket. Get the hell away from me. Su Huan. No. Su Yi suddenly appeared beside me, kicking me off my chair. She snatched my flowers and flung them across the floor. You filthy whore. Still putting on airs here. You deserve to be thrown into a brothel. Ridden by 1,000 men. Slept with by 10,000. Su Yi had spent her childhood hanging around brothels. Her insults were nothing but echoes of what she'd heard and learned. I fell to the ground, my knees stinging from the impact. Yet I felt no anger. The more madly she raged, the closer she drew to her own demise. If you want this seat, sister, take it. I'll move elsewhere. Maids helped me to the back, where I sat in the seat originally reserved for Sui. Sui, smug and triumphant, took my seat instead. She looked down her nose at the other sisters, her demeanor dripping with petty satisfaction. My heart rejoiced. How delightful. You're still as foolish as ever. Soon after, the teaching aunt arrived. We rose to pay our respects, only to see the position meant for the legitimate daughter occupied by an outsider. An adopted daughter. The noble lady, newly titled Princess of Ning'an County, was shoved into a corner. Furious, she declared, "This is the upbringing of your Su family? To mistreat a county princess? How dare you bear such responsibility?" Everyone knelt, leaving only Sui and me standing. I stood because, as a county princess, I was exempt from bowing to palace attendants. Sui, however, remained standing purely out of sheer arrogance. That lowly creature isn't even of our Su bloodline. Keeping her in the mansion instead of expelling her is pure charity from this young mistress. And you, a mere servant, dare to speak out of turn? Believe me, I'll have father have you thrown out. The tutor's face flushed crimson with fury. Her hand trembled as she pointed at Sui with her folding fan. Yet she maintained her composure. Very well. Someone, fetch the mistress. Let her decide if she'll grant Miss Yi's wish and drive this lowly servant from the estate. Seeing the situation escalate, my eldest sister turned to me for help. My fifth sister tugged at my skirt hem, urging me to calm the tutor. Otherwise, if the mistress is summoned to judge this matter today, we'll all suffer the consequences. After the messenger departed, I stepped forward to soothe Auntie's anger. Auntie, you've seen it all in the imperial palace. Don't quarrel with a child. Little sister has been raised without proper guidance all these years. It's only natural she might speak without thinking. With your careful guidance, she will surely become a proper young lady. Please, Auntie, do not be angry. I diligently offered her a cup of tea, smiling ingratiatingly, and only then did her anger begin to subside. But Sui, hearing my words, flew into a rage. She kicked me hard in the side, sending the tea spilling over my hands and onto Auntie's dress. Before I could rise from the floor, another kick landed. You worthless slut. How dare you call me ill-mannered? I'll kick you to death. Kick you to death. Seeing this, my other sisters rushed to pull Sui away. Two elder sisters shielded me in their arms, scolding angrily, Sui, how dare you defy your elders? Even two seemingly delicate younger sisters clung to Sui with all their might. Their personal maids, witnessing this, dared not intervene. They hurried off, some seeking the mistress, others the concubine. Sui, however, continued to snarl at us like a rabid dog about to break free. I am the legitimate daughter. I am Su Huan. I am the county princess. How dare you all? Cradled in my eldest sister's arms, I wept from the pain. The wound Su Huan had kicked open earlier flared with a sharp sting across my back. Sister, why must you be so aggressive? Since your arrival, I've been uncertain of my own Su lineage. Regardless, I've always sought to compensate you generously. Every item in your courtyard matches mine. And today I even yielded my seat to you. Our aunt is a noble lady of the palace, of exalted status. When you spoke disrespectfully, I thought my county princess's dignity might earn her some consideration for me. Truly, I meant no ill toward you. I wept bitterly, the blood on my back spreading, staining everything crimson. Oh my God! Blood! Second sister gasped, seeing the blood-soaked expanse on my back. Just then, Lady Su hurried over, Passing by, Sui saw me sobbing in pain in eldest sister's arms. Mother. Third sister's wound has reopened. Second sister's voice was urgent. Quick! Summon the imperial physician. I hurriedly stepped in, enduring the pain to dissuade her. Mother. If we call the physician now, he will surely inquire about my injuries. Should this matter become public, it would tarnish the reputation of the Su family's women. Huaner will recover with 2 days' rest in her room. Mother. Please do not trouble yourself. The pain and relief on Mother Su's face were impossible to hide. She stroked my cheek and instructed a maid to escort me back. Staggering to my feet, I looked at Sui, who glared at me with hatred, and continued my plea. Mother. Please do not blame my sister too harshly. It must be my fault for failing to satisfy her. As soon as I finished speaking, Sui erupted again, her harsh words filling the air. Seeing the mistress's face darken further without restraint. Finally, Sui's face bore the imprint of her own mother's palm, and she finally fell silent. I shook my head in exasperation, then was escorted back to my quarters by the maidservant. Mother and daughter had grown estranged before their bond could deepen, truly a delightful turn of events. Later, the maidservant reported that Sui had been punished according to family law, kneeling in the ancestral hall. The mistress also gave the tutor aunt a large sum of silver, instructing her to keep today's event secret. But how could paper contain fire? Especially when I intended to spread the news. Within 2 days, rumors swept through the capital. Sui, the adopted daughter of the Su family, was arrogant and vicious, beating the county princess and committing an act of insubordination. Somehow, as the rumors spread, the kicked open wound transformed into Sui beating me to the point of helplessness. As the scandal grew, the once secluded general's mansion had no choice but to send the matriarch and her children to the Yuan Marquis' wife's polo tournament, placing the Su family squarely in the eye of the storm. Su's mother even deliberately paraded me around, ensuring everyone saw my limbs intact and my body healthy. Suyi's reputation had been utterly ruined by the rumors, leaving her utterly ignored. She sat alone on the stands, seething with resentment as she watched me mingle with the other ladies and young misses. The more effortlessly I navigated the social scene, the deeper her hatred and jealousy grew. What I hadn't anticipated was that Gu Mingfan would also attend today's polo match. A single glance from afar told me he had come for me. I lowered my head, feigning avoidance as I circled around to the back of the field. Gu Mingfan immediately followed. This entire sequence was witnessed by Sui, who had been watching me intently. She grew elated, as if she had finally caught me in a compromising position. My deliberate, slow pace made it easy for Gu Mingfan to catch up. He approached with a broad smile, but I offered only a distant curtsy before taking 2 steps back. How have you been, third young miss? Since the city gate attack, I've been occupied with eliminating bandits and haven't had the chance to thank you in person. I also heard you were injured again at home. Your Highness, please keep your distance. My lineage is uncertain, and I'm subject to criticism. If you associate too closely with me, it will tarnish your reputation. I maintained that timid demeanor, my eyes brimming with tears that threatened to spill. I know you've suffered injustice. That's why I devised a way to have the Su family open their doors and bring you out, simply to tell you this, whether you are a Su family daughter or not. You are my savior, and you possess the dignity befitting a county princess. I was somewhat surprised. So the increasingly wild rumors circulating outside were actually spread by Gu Mingfan. This man was more interesting than I had originally imagined. And he cared about me more than I had imagined. Indeed, having saved my life made things more special. Thank you for your reminder, Your Highness. I will certainly not abandon myself to despair. Your Highness, please proceed ahead. Should anyone see us together, it would invite gossip. Gu Mingfan seemed to have more to say, But after hesitating several times, he abandoned the thought and walked ahead toward the court. By the time I reached the corner, only Su Yi remained, mesmerized by Gu Mingfan, frozen like a statue. Su Huan, is this amusing? Su Yi jumped in fright. I watched her comical reaction with a half-smile. The moment she recognized me, her cocky expression returned. Just you wait. One day, I'll expose your hypocritical true colors for all to see. I casually smoothed my hair, my tone laced with sarcasm. Fine. Then you'd better hurry. His Highness the Crown Prince has taken a liking to me. If I become Crown Princess one day, you won't stand a chance. The Crown Princess's position is mine. You, some lowly bastard crawling out of who knows what mud pit, think you can marry the Crown Prince? Dream on. Su Yi shoved me hard, then stormed off in a rage. Watching her retreating back, I suddenly felt pity for her foolishness. She wasn't fighting me for power or status, just for the sake of pride. Compared to my past life, she was remarkably kind now. Too bad I'm no longer a saint. Retaliation is the only true justice. Upon returning to the estate, Su Yi predictably began pleading with her parents to arrange a marriage for her with Gu Mingfan. But setting aside her status as an adopted daughter, the affection Su Yi's parents now held for her alone would never grant such an absurd request. Faced with refusal, Su Yi resorted to starving herself and threatening suicide to coerce her parents. Upon hearing this, Su Huan had her bound in cloth, declaring she'd only be released when she came to her senses. As for me, I dutifully fulfilled my duties as a county princess. Naturally, I wouldn't deliberately assign gossipy servants to watch over her, nor would I use them to leak that Gu Mingfan would be at the 1000 Buddha temple on the 8th day of the 9th month to pray for the late empress's soul. Nor would I let them know that some daughter had married into a prestigious family because she was pregnant before the wedding, a marriage arranged by necessity. But sure enough, once this news reached Su Yi's ears, she grew quiet. She stopped demanding a marriage decree, stopped threatening suicide, and even said she would go to the 1000 Buddha temple to burn incense and pray for her parents, taking advantage of a visit to pay respects at the princess's residence. I asked her to deliver a sachets I had made to Gu Mingfan as a token of thanks for his words of caution at the polo match. Inside the sachets, alongside medicinal herbs, I had tucked a note, using the recent gate attack as a pretext. I urged him to be vigilant, to exercise caution with people, objects, food, and incense. On the 8th day of the 9th lunar month, Su Yi went to the 1000 Buddha temple in high spirits. I simply said I wanted to go out for a stroll and followed in the direction of the temple, keeping watch from a tea house near the city gate. As dusk approached, I saw Gu Mingfan's entourage returning from outside the city. The Su family carriage brought up the rear, but instead of heading back to the Su residence, it followed directly into the Eastern Palace. I timed my return to the general's residence perfectly, arriving just as Su Yi and his father were summoned to the palace. Seeing their grave expressions, I bowed respectfully to see them off. The entire household was restless, yet I alone remained calm and composed. Night fell, and when the two men finally returned, looking as pale as ghosts, Su Yi was nowhere to be seen. Only after hearing the Su family's account did everyone understand. Su Yi had been caught red-handed poisoning Gu Mingfan. With the recent Tian Dao Society uprising, Gu Mingfan suspected Su Yi was a spy sent by the society to infiltrate the capital. Yet, mindful of her status as the Su family's adopted daughter, he could only bring her to the Eastern Palace for a secret interrogation. The interrogation yielded a shocking result. Su Yi confessed to being a spy. She admitted to impersonating the Su family's missing daughter to gain trust, even signing a written confession that she personally submitted to Gu Mingfan. Gu Mingfan presented the testimony to the emperor, who flew into a rage. He berated both men for failing to discern her true nature and allowing a spy to infiltrate the Su family registry. Su Huan was demoted from commander of the patrol corps to deputy commander. while Su's father was demoted half a rank. I breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, I'd only expected Su Yi's antics, regardless of her motives, to bring her no good. At worst, she'd face accountability, and the Su family's reputation would suffer. But this outcome was a tremendous surprise. The emperor and crown prince seized this opportunity to suppress the Su family. As for Su Yi, a traitorous rebel, her crime was punishable by death. Inside the imperial prison, I brought her clothes and pastries for a visit. Seated in a corner, her attire and hair remained untroubled. Save for the absence of jeweled hairpins, she looked no different from her days as a young lady in the general's mansion. "What brings you here? Am I in the imperial prison now? Are you satisfied?" Su Yi regarded me with that same defiant expression, as if she feared nothing, not even the prospect of losing her head. Sensing something amiss, I quickly composed my face and placed the food box and clothes inside. "You collaborated with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to betray your own father and brother?" Su Yi casually kicked aside the things I brought, her face still that same repulsive expression through the bars. "Not only that, but once His Royal Highness discovered your true identity, he quickly discarded you. And what about you? Didn't you want to reclaim your identity as Su Huan? Don't you want it anymore?" At this, Su Yi's eyes indeed flashed with murderous intent. The next instant, she reached out, grabbed my shoulder, and yanked me forward. I seized the opportunity to pull a golden hairpin from my hair and fling it into the cell. "If not for you, I'd have returned to the capital long ago." "Just wait, I'll kill you." Su Yi's hand clamped around my throat. Yet I offered no resistance. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince already knew my origins. "Why did you need to inform on me? Now you're a spy for the Heaven's Path Society, with no connection to the Su family. And I am Su Huan, the one and only Su Huan. Do you really think His Highness the Crown Prince is helping you?" Su Yi froze upon hearing my words, her grip loosening. I seized the moment to pull away, lest she truly choke me to death. "If you escape, you might still have a sliver of hope. But locked in this cage, you're nothing but a rat in a sewer." With that, I walked away. Having grown up in the slums, everyone knew how to pick locks and slip through gates. If Su Yi ever tried to escape, she'd be walking straight into the gates of hell. Outside the imperial prison, the crown prince was dismounting his horse. I stood waiting for him. Earlier, I deceived Su Yi by claiming the crown prince had imprisoned her to aid me, nothing but a lie spun to provoke her. How could a mere woman ever outweigh the affairs of state? Yet watching his figure approach, a faint hope stirred within me. When sentencing Su Yi, had even a shred of it been for my sake? "Greetings, Your Royal Highness. Why has the third miss come here?" I tried to read Gu Mingfan's purpose from his face, but he seemed like nothing more than a silly boy with a dumb grin. "To see Su Yi. After all, we were sisters once." Saying this, I touched my hairpin and feigned shock. My hairpin is missing. Perhaps I dropped it in the prison. I'll send someone to search for it." Just then, the jailer reported that Su Yi's cell lock had been opened and she was missing. Gu Mingfan immediately led men inside to search for her. Standing at the heavenly prison gate, I listened to the commotion of the search, as if it were a death knell I had composed for Su Yi. Amidst the sounds of the jailer's pursuit, Su Yi found the prison gate but was caught. Su Yi flailed desperately with her golden hairpin, yet couldn't break free. I couldn't make out her words, but I saw clearly as she cursed me a bitch, vowing to kill me. The jailer thrust his spear through her body. In my eyes, she gradually blurred into a pool of blood. "Yes, such a death befits you." Gu Mingfan offered to escort me back to the Su residence, and I accepted. Inside the carriage, our eyes met. He had questions, but before he could speak, I answered them. "I know Your Highness came to the dungeon to kill Su Yi." "No. the real Su Huan. But letting her die peacefully would be too easy for her. You presume to interpret the emperor's intent? Do you not fear I might charge you with the crime of high treason? Have I misjudged? Was it not your highness who persuaded Su Huan to confess to being a spy? To suppress the Su family? And to personally come for Su Huan's life to keep the secret? I am the crown prince. Why would I need to come personally to take someone's life? Could it be that the crown prince came for my sake? I froze. Gu Mingfan's gaze fixed on me with intense seriousness. He had truly come for me. So you knew everything, my identity. My intent to kill Su Huan. Gu Mingfan nodded. It turned out he had seen through my facade of innocence during our first meeting at the Hengyang Marquis' residence. Later, when we crossed paths at the city gate and the Heavenly Path Society caused trouble, I risked my life to save him. My swift reaction had made him suspicious of my true identity. He sent men to Ruzhou to investigate my past. Only then feeling reassured. Later, when I was granted the title of county princess and the question of the real Su Huan arose, he saw an opportunity to leverage this against the Su family. He organized the polo tournament to meet me, giving me the confidence to continue shaking the Su family to its core. Unexpectedly, I delivered Su Huan directly into his hands. In return, he ensured no lingering threats remained, except for Su Huan himself. All I could think was, truly, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. After all my scheming, though vengeance was mine, I'd merely sewn his wedding gown. Huaner, do you remember your parents? You were lost in childhood, all because we failed to watch over you. If third young miss were to become part of my household, there would naturally be no need for such secrecy. I smiled, speechless. The Crown Prince himself, resorting to forced marriage. 3 months later, the imperial decree of betrothal reached the general's residence. The following spring, the daughter of the Grand General of the state entered the Eastern Palace, becoming the Crown Princess. The end.